Alright team, I'm back. Back from deployment now, so time to crack on with some traction engine. Also got some, well, some jobs, I say a lot of jobs around the house. We've got solar and gardening and all the good stuff you get when you come back from a long trip. Yeah, so talking about my plans for this, as you can see I've got the wheel off. That is because I'm going to be playing with the injector. As you can see, I've got a bit of a setup going on. I'll explain that in a second. The regulator cover's off and I've just blanked it off. Cylinder covers and pistons are out. So yeah, what's going on? The thing I noticed when I was running it last year, more on steam but also on air, was there was a lot of passing through the cylinder block. So even with the regulator closed, it would be passing straight through and up the chimney. Obviously losing a lot of steam. So I've decided to pull the pistons and inspect the rings and the wear on the pistons. Also, a couple of times the high pressure piston actually completely seized up in the bore. So I examined both, obviously piston bore and piston, high pressure piston that is. This comes out at 2 1/16, pretty much exactly, and the bore comes out at 2 1/16 and all, so there's not really any clearance. If you can see in the piston here, there's a lot of a huge amount of scoring and wear just there. So that kind of says to me that it might have been getting, well, more wear there than scoring. The actual cylinder itself looks in fairly good nick. The piston's definitely got signs of where it bound up. So I'm going to take a, well, I looked on Google and the expansion rate of cast iron is around 2 thou per, is around 2 thou at 150 to 180 degrees, something like that. So well, 2 thou for this diameter, 2 thousandths of an inch for this diameter at 150 degrees to 180 degrees. So I think what's been happening is this is expanding before the cylinder block heats up and expands, so this binds up. Because I found when I let everything cool down again and then ran it on air afterwards, it ran over fine. So yeah, I'm going to take maybe 3, 4, 5 thou off this piston, and then I'll measure up the low pressure piston and all and see. The rings themselves are very unevenly worn. You can see there's wear just there, none there. Bit of wear going on, more there, and then kind of back to nothing. So I feel like these, I bought these rings, I don't feel like they've been machined very well. Anyway, I've decided to go for Vitron O-rings, which should, according to the specs, withstand up to 200 degrees, oil and steam. So I'm going to go for them and see how they react. Does mean changing the grooves on the pistons, but that's fine. Next thing on test last year, the injector, it was interesting. So a hell of a lot of hot water was coming out the overflow, which wasn't a good sign, obviously. So consulting Dag Brown's book and online forums I found, they were saying that the steam cone was either too far in or too far out. So after a lot of mucking around and taking it off and on again, I deduced it wasn't the steam cone, because no matter where I had it, it didn't change anything. Checked the drawings, it was made to the right size. Even made a new one and it made no change. So what I did was I actually took this out while it was running and found that this clack valve was actually sucked down, which says to me that the overflow was after the combining cones. So I racked my brains, decided to pull the whole lot out and yeah, then I decided to model it in CAD so I could see the inners and how it all went together and compare it to Dag Brown's book, and this is kind of what I found. Alright guys, so just knocked up on CAD then. This is the Injector inners as per the drawings by Plasto. The first thing I notice is this, the delivery cone. I think what I'm getting is because this tube is so long here, it's not the low pressure jet of water from here, high velocity low pressure jet of water here is entering here, trying to expand, it can't, it starts bouncing, and then that creates a back pressure which obviously goes off to the overflow. As you see, what I've done is I've cut the end off and pulled this cone much further forward at the same taper, and that still gives it the 10 to 12 times the diameter of the throat, which is advised by Dag Brown. So yeah, that's what we're going to test. So this is the delivery cone as it stands. As I said, you can see the diverging taper there is only half the length of that cone. In my mind, it should start pretty much just after the bell mouth, so that the low pressure high velocity jet can actually start expanding and slowing down and raising pressure. So if we go into the sketch of this, 0.968 is the radius, so it's 1.4 mil pretty much, which is actually 15 times smaller than the overall length. Now Dag Brown says 10 to 12 times, so this is well over already. So what I've done is I'm going to chop the end here off and move this cone down at the same taper. So you can imagine then it comes down somewhere around here instead, and we'll see if the pressure rises. So this is the new sketch. As you can see, the taper comes far further into the throat. I've also widened this end out to 0.147, which was in Dag Brown's book. And then if we go back to the body, you can see resembles something much more in line with Dag Brown's book. And I don't know, if this doesn't work, I'll go back to the head scratching, but physics says this should help at least. So this is the kind of setup I'm going to have. So this is straight from the Injector, this pipe work. Just because I can open it fully, start the Injector and see if it overflows, and then I can slowly close this valve off, put back pressure on the Injector and see if the pressure rises and at what point the Injector fails or starts overflowing. That'll tell me a lot. I've got a simple jerry-rigged, just a boiler test pump, just to put a bit of water in the boiler if kind of for emergencies. But I'm going to have it on gas anyway, so if anything happens ludicrous, I'm just shut the gas off. I blanked this is because, like I say, the cylinder block was passing, so I just wanted to make sure that it was passing after the inlet, after the regulator, or if I've got a problem internally. The next plan then is I will check the timing because it was running very, very poorly in reverse. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try and upgrade the regulator valve, try and somehow use an O-ring or fibre washer or something better than just brass on cast iron, because it seems to obviously be passing. Then I will only put the high pressure piston in and time it on the high pressure piston, and then I'll put the low pressure piston in and time it with both in. On air first, yeah. Cool, let's see how we go. So we've got some results. So the pressure's now 70 psi. I'll open up the water, turn on the steam. And she is feeding. Absolutely no discharge at all. So that's very interesting. Turn it off. Water off. And yeah, it's definitely put a lot of water in. Right, just measuring the outlet temperature of the overflow. Water on. Steaming slowly. A little bit cold. Bit more steam. There she goes. It's just 75 psi now, so. Pot's doing a lot, isn't it? Right, that's it, emptied in. Oh! Phew. It's quite cold, that. When it gets down to 60 again, it will start feeding. Yeah, conserve water, that's it. It's coming down to 60 now.
Because we supply and install solar PV systems, solar battery backup systems, and solar water heating solutions, AF Installations partner use the energy solutions to ensure your solar system works as efficiently as possible. Less power from the energy companies, more power from the sun. Get a free solar installation quote today at AFinstallations.co.uk.
This summer, let your imagination run or fly wild at Arundel Wetland Centre's first ever Dragonfly Festival. Dance over 60 acres of gorgeous wetlands to discover a dazzling lineup of dragonfly themed events. Iridescent sprinkles, workshops, expert-led walks and more. Discover the service with multiple Dragonfly Festival.
Alright, another thing I've noticed was that it was running quite rough in on one stroke, so I suspected I had a leak through to the exhaust, and I've jerry-rigged this up, just a simple over that valve. Now, in theory, if I didn't have a leak, the pressure would just pressurise this side of the piston, push the piston forward, and the only place it could come out is there. However, when I connect the airline, instantly you can hear quite a bad leak coming through. You know, you can see the bubbles, but you can see the oil moving around down in there. Alright, the plan, I'm going to use cotton buds, clean out. I've got a strong detergent to clean out this warm. Also then going to fill this with Araldite. It's got a 5-minute set time on it. According to the tube, 5 minutes set time. And then I'll put the pressure back on and try and, at very high pressure, all the compressors got 150 psi, and then try and force the Araldite through, and it should push through to the other side in theory, and then yeah, let it set. Probably push it through, watch it come out this side if possible, and then lower the pressure, make sure I'm getting some in, and then let it set, and then I'll just use a Dremel in this groove and grind out anything that looks like it's going to be in the way. And obviously I can grind at that angle to give it the steam passage through. We shall see. It's the only idea I've got. Bit more. Coming clean now. So after 2 goes, that is it with what? It's 50 psi. There's nothing coming through now. I did see some Araldite squeeze through on the last one, and then I'll show you how it's built up inside now. We can't see as well as I can by eye, but it's a nice fillet down there. I know Araldite's probably not the best for steam, maybe, but hopefully it will do the job. And anyway, it's an hour job to get the top off if I ever need to do it again, so not bad. Right, so at get a bit more. 25. Can't really hear any passing. On the stroke with the other. Run on 40 on air. That sounded lovely. No? Much better. Much cleaner beat, so lovely.